Yes, indeed. The holiday season is here. If you can hear me, let me know with a comment that you guys can hear me. You guys able to hear me? All right, that's what I like to see. Let's go. It's production time. I'm Reid Stefan, realist puppet in the game. Today, we're celebrating the holiday season with a very special tutorial called Top 5 EQ Plugins and Mixing Tips. And we're going to be going through my absolute 5 favorite plugins that I see myself using a lot for the next year that have made it just too dang easy to sound good. And I'm also going to show you my favorite ways to use those plugins. Welcome everybody, gather round, gather round. Greetings from Los Angeles. Season's greetings from Los Angeles, I should say. Reid, what's your favorite Christmas song? Probably, Hallelujah. I hope to see Pensado EQ. Oh, you're going to be very pleased by this video if you hope to see the Pensado EQ. What good plugin do you use to get rid of harshness without getting rid of good top end as well? Ooh, that's a great question. I would say Soothe. And then once you've soothed it, then use another plugin after it to bring the top end back up. Because you'll definitely lose a little bit when you reduce harshness. That's just the nature of losing harshness. Should I buy FabFilter Pro? Yes, Pro Q3. Absolutely should. It's my workhorse EQ. Let's see. Does a puppet eat turkey? Oh, absolutely, as long as it's got some good sauce on it. It's a little dry without the sauce, but honestly, once you put the sauce on anything, it's probably good. Thoughts about Sonox Inflator on your master? That's the Sony Oxford plugin. I've only used it on my vocals group. I've never tried it on my master, but if your mix has lots of dynamics, I'm sure it would sound pretty good on your master. It's definitely going to squash your dynamics a bit by bringing up the quiet stuff, but that's all right. If you mix into it, it'll sound right. Best synth for techno? Probably Serum. Do you put your clipper before or after your limiter in your master? This is a great question. Before. Limiter is the last plugin, and I barely want to hit the limiter. The reason the clipper is before it is to take off all that craziness so that by the time the signal gets to the limiter, the attenuation meter barely has to move. And I also reduce the output of the clipper -3 and then use the limiter after it to bring it back up +3. What's the best way to EQ low end in vocals? You're gonna love this tutorial that's about to come up today. So I don't even want to spoil anything, so you're just gonna have to stick around and wait. Shout out all FL Studio users. All right, shout out to all FL Studio users. Why are my exports not sounding the same as in my DAW? That's a good question. Is your master chain clipping? Sometimes if the song is above 0, it'll add some distortion. It could also be with the way your tracks are routed. Something could not be routed to your master bus, but when you're playing it back, you're hearing it because it's routed to your speakers. But when you bounce it, it's just bouncing your master bus. So make sure, like, are you missing something or is just the mix sound different? I think that's the main question. Let's see. Controlling rogue peaks in pre-masters. That would be the clipper before the limiter, really. Or also a clipping plugin on your drums group. I know Black Box isn't a technically a clipper, but it does something similar where you can run audio that's way above clipping into it and it'll come out just as loud but without being clipping. I think that's why they call it black box, because it's freaking magic. So either a clipper or black box on the drums group will take those rogue peaks away. So by the time you get to your pre-master, there won't be too many. Best clipping plugin, Standard Clip. And it's also like $25 or $30, which is incredible because it really is one of the best. Do you know Tom Norris? No, I don't. Where should the EQ with your fix? I'm not sure what that means. Does the realist puppet does the realist puppet in the game give private lessons? No, I only give public lessons for everybody. I'd rather spend a couple hours teaching thousands of people than spend a couple hours teaching one person, so I hope you understand I don't do private lessons. Can you use stock Ableton EQ8 to boost frequencies? This is a great question. Actually, I use stock channel EQ, which is similar to EQ8, but doesn't sound like trash when you boost frequencies. I think EQ8 sounds really harsh for boosting. Channel EQ sounds great for boosting. So if you're trying to boost, go for channel EQ instead of EQ8. It'll just sound better. Does Whole Loops have support for Studio One? Currently, all the Waves products would work in Studio One if you owned Blue Cat's Patchwork. Because these products were designed to function like Ableton's audio effect rack, for all the people who aren't using Ableton, you'll need a plugin that is like an audio effect rack, so Patchwork would be how a Studio One user would use it. However, now that I own Studio One, I'm working on creating a template version that when you load it up the Studio One session, it's just a bunch of plugins in the mixer. Because when you get the Waves vocal sauce, for example, and you open it in Logic, that's what it is. It's a mixer full of plugins. But when you open it in Ableton, it's a rack. So if you're in Studio One, you'll need a rack, and Blue Cat's Patchwork is your rack. Fong's Rave Sauce actually made a cameo in today's tutorial too. It's really packed. I cannot explain how exciting I am for this tutorial. Can you do a video just explaining keyboard shortcuts in Ableton? That's a great idea. Like the Bible of key commands. The Puppet Bible. When Apple gives an update, how long should we wait due to plugins not being up to date with Apple updates? I don't know, I got a new MacBook Pro that came with Catalina and only half my stuff works on it, so I end up just making songs using other tools. To be honest, I kind of like having the limited plugin list. It's a nice break because my plugin list is getting out of hand, and that almost holds you back, having too many plugins. So truthfully, I'm enjoying the fact that most of my stuff isn't working on Catalina at the moment because I'm getting real creative with the tools that I use in Ableton. How are you? When do you use dynamic EQ and multi-band compression from FabFilter? What's the difference? They're actually the same thing. They really replaced the FabFilter Pro MB with the new FabFilter Pro Q3. Seems like you can do just about everything except for, I think they give you more compression options in Pro MB, whereas Pro Q3 gives you just a threshold for your compressor. It doesn't give you like attack and release and all that good stuff. So I would pretty much use Pro Q3 for everything. I don't really pull up Pro MB anymore. Let's see. Why when I download tracks, the LUFS are 6 to 7 and there's no compression or less quality? When I upload the same LUFS, there's a lot of compression and bad quality. Well, when you download a song, the file that you're getting is not the file that the mastering engineer sent to Spotify. The version that gets downloaded can be as loud as you want it to be because it's going to someone's hard drive. It's not going to a streaming service. When you upload it to a streaming service, you're subject to their built-in limiters and their built-in loofs analyzers or whatever you want to call them. So that would be the reason, because you weren't dealing with that whole limiting system when you downloaded it versus when you're uploading it. What's the difference between signal to interference and signal to noise ratio? Well, I would say interference would cause noise. They would probably be the same thing. However, I guess you could specify whether that noise is a mechanical noise coming from the components in the vocal chain, or if that noise is an acoustic noise happening in the room that your mic is set up in, that you have to go like unplug something or maybe move your computer out of the room so the fan isn't in the mic. So I would maybe just say the difference could be the noise source, whether it's a noise coming from within the electric components or out in your room. Slate FGX or FabFilter L2? If I'm putting it on the master channel, I gotta go for the Slate. But if I'm putting a limiter somewhere in my mix to limit something for some reason, probably Pro L2 because it's more transparent. The FGX is really like a summing tool in my opinion. A great one. Ooh, we got 5 minutes till the EQ tutorial premieres. Again, we're gonna be talking about my top 5 favorite new EQs that just make mixing too dang easy. It ain't even fair. And I'm also throwing some great mixing tips on top of it, so you're not gonna wanna miss it. What's the difference between ProQ and Ozone 9? Well, Ozone is a bundle of plugins and ProQ is an EQ. But if you're asking specifically what's the difference between the EQ in Ozone 9 and the one in FabFilter, probably not much. If you were A/Bing it, it'd be hard to tell the difference. Just the user interface. And I'm sure the algorithms are different too, but they're both trying to do the same thing. Very, very similar. Best piece of advice you've ever gotten? Wow, that's a great question. Wow. I can't remember the last time someone was giving me advice other than like mixing stuff. Luca Predalesi shared some really invaluable mixing gems with me over the last couple times I've met with him in various places. He always seems to just be overflowing with mixing gems. So I would say when he showed me how to use the diamond color EQ the way he uses it, that was really eye-opening to me, and I actually show that in this tutorial. So, not to give too much away, but I would say it's some mixing advice from Luca, the best advice anyone's ever given me. Let's see, free auto-tune plugins. To be honest, I don't like the auto-tune knockoffs from anybody. I think Antares are the only people that made tuning sound good. Everybody else made tuning sound kind of worse, except for Melodyne, but that's a whole different beast. I'm talking about automatic tuners. Best mid-range interface for more inputs. Apollo X4. I don't know if that's not mid-range. I think that's like close to $1,000. I guess the Focusrite one with more inputs, get that. What dB should I put the beat and what dB should I put the vocals? I would say start out by looking at your master channel with no master limiter on it and make sure that together they're not clipping your master. So lower them together like -3. Are they clipping still? Oh, they're still clipping. Let's try -4 and maybe -5 is the right answer. So I would start with both of them at -5. And from there, maybe just make small adjustments. Favorite mic to use for vocals? Sony C800G. But if I'm on a budget, of course, Slate ML1. And if I'm podcasting, Shure SM7B. I think that sounds really good for podcasts. I don't know why. Doesn't sound great on singing, though. I don't like recording my SM7B unless it's recording a podcast. Oh, we got 1 minute until the tutorial premieres. We'll try and sneak in a couple more questions. Favorite mini keyboard controller. My Complete 25 that little keyboard thing was really, really great. I love that it's a mini keyboard, but the keys are still big. I know I got little hands, but I appreciate a full-size piano key when a controller gives it to me. Which do you prefer, Fairchild or SSL bus compressor? If I'm putting it on the master, definitely the SSL bus compressor. If I'm putting it on a vocal, definitely the Fairchild. Worst part of working in the music industry / on a track? Well, the worst part could be a project never ending. Like you decide to work on it forever, or you decide to just stop working on it and waste your time. That's the worst thing, is time wasted on things that didn't come to fruition. Advice, oh, the video is about to start. All right, guys, so if you want to see my top 5 EQ tips and my top 5 EQ plugins, head over to my channel and I'll be answering comments in the live chat throughout the video. And happy holidays, and I'll catch you guys in 2020. What an incredible year it's been. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me live on this special holiday edition of Production Time. Enjoy the EQ tutorial, and peace out.